Welcome back to MTN Fantasy Football. We have the Week 11 starts, sits, concerns. If you have any questions about your lineups, let me know in the comments. I'll get back to you and try to give you my best educated guess on who to play. Leave a like if you enjoy, and let's get into it. We'll start with the quarterback position. The start I have is Justin Herbert. Yes, I know he scored 15 or less in 3 of his past 4 games. Not what you want to see, and you probably don't want to start him now. But I can see why people want to bench him. Now, Pittsburgh safety Minkah Fitzpatrick is out for this game with COVID, and TJ Watt seems highly questionable to not practice on Thursday. So if he's out, I feel even better about this. Pittsburgh's defense is ranked 26 in allowing points to the fantasy quarterbacks, of course. So it's not the best matchup, but we got to look at the injuries. They might have 2 of their most important defenders out for this game. I like this game a lot for a bounce back for the Chargers offense. And don't forget, the Chargers are top 5 in the NFL in pass attempts per game. And Justin Herbert will have his chance to at least throw around, 35, 40 passes in this game. According to Vegas, the Chargers have an implied point total of 26.5. So if they get around there, that could be like a 3 or 4 touchdown day for the Chargers. And if Justin Herbert gets 2 or 3 of those, it should be a nice day. So I'm trusting Justin Herbert for at least one more week and seeing how it goes. A concern I have for Week 11, this guy you're probably going to start, but it's Jalen Hurts against the Saints at home. Jalen Hurts has not had a rushing touchdown since Week 6. It's definitely hurt his fantasy ceiling so far, but so far he's been okay, even without the rushing touchdowns. The Saints' run defense this season is historically great. They're only allowing like 72 rushing yards per game, which is fantastic, and I don't see the Eagles having much of a rushing attack in this game. But you're probably thinking, well, that's probably a good thing for Jalen Hurts, isn't it? And maybe it is, but the Saints' pass defense isn't that bad either. They've held 2 of their past 4 opponents to under 200 passing yards. They picked off Tom Brady twice in one of those games as well. And if Philly can't run the ball, which they have been doing really well recently, I don't know if Jalen Hurts can just put this team on his back and put up a great performance offensively against a great Saints defense. If you take away the Eagles' run, you make the offense one-dimensional. If you know Jalen Hurts is passing the ball, it might not be a good outcome. So I'm still starting Jalen Hurts. I have him in a league, but I'm still concerned about the matchup, so I'm not really expecting like a 25-point week, although that would be great, but I think it's a very tough matchup here. A sit I have at the quarterback position is Kirk Cousins versus Green Bay here. So Kirk Cousins has been a solid streamer throughout the weeks. He's had some down weeks of like 12 or 13 points, but also has some blow-up games of like 25, 28, something like that. So Kirk Cousins has his weeks, but this week I don't see it happening. The Packers defense allows the 3rd fewest passing yards in the NFL this season and only 14.4 points per game to opposing fantasy quarterbacks. Now remember, in the Packers' past 3 games, they've faced some pretty elite quarterbacks: Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, and Russell Wilson. I know Russ was hurt, but still, they held him to 0 points. They've done a really good job against all 3 of those quarterbacks, and I don't see Kirk Cousins being the one to kind of break that and have a great performance here against the Packers D. I used this last week as an argument to have Tyler Lockett as a concern, and you guys probably should have benched him, honestly, looking at his game, but the Packers are the 3rd best defense at not allowing explosive passing plays this year, so you probably won't see a huge catch for Justin Jefferson or some other guy like who has big plays on the Vikings offense. Maybe like a KJ Osborne, I have no idea. But anyway, I would not start Kirk Cousins. There's better options out there. I'd rather start Cam Newton, as bad as that sounds. So I also would not start Carson Wentz. I won't dive into it too much, but Buffalo's defense has been phenomenal this year, and I just don't see Carson Wentz going into Buffalo and having a great game, so I'd look elsewhere if you're looking to stream either Cousins or Wentz. For fantasy wide receivers, I have a start as Jamison Crowder. I think I recommended him last week, and he did not have that great of a game. He had like 5 or 6 points, so I expect better here, though, against the Miami Dolphins defense. Joe Flacco's at quarterback, and Joe Flacco has never seen a middle-of-the-field check down that he did not like, so Jamison Crowder hopefully should have a nice game in this one. Crowder still led the Jets in slot snaps last week. He had 49 as compared to Elijah Moore's 10, so he should be the slot receiver here, of course, and the best way to exploit this good Dolphins secondary, I know they've been bad on the season, but better recently. They have really good outside corners, but the best way to exploit them is through the slot, and that's where Jamison Crowder plays. He doesn't have the highest ceiling, we get that, but this could be one of those typical 7-catch, 70-yard type games for Jamison Crowder here. I have some concerns about Elijah Moore. I'll get to him later. I have some concerns about Corey Davis. I'm starting him in a league, so hopefully that goes well. But Jamison Crowder might be the one here to play for the Jets receiving corps. Start Kenny Golladay at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So it's risky considering Golladay has not really had a good fantasy week since week 4 at the Saints, but the Saints are a great defense, so that's definitely a good thing. But the Giants are coming off their bye here. Galladay's now off the injury report, and he did come back 2 weeks ago against the Raiders right before the Giants hit their bye, but Golladay played like 50-something% of snaps, but this time he should be on the field for majority of the Giants' offensive snaps. The Giants' offense should have a negative game script. Now, we saw this last week with Tampa, how they were big favorites against Washington and lost, but the Giants, presumably, based on the spread here, should be playing from behind most of the game, so Daniel Jones should have more passing attempts. Now, Tampa Bay's defense is still beat up, and they don't really have a guy to combat the size of Kenny Golladay. It seems like Carlton Davis is still out, and even Richard Sherman, of course. Now, I think Golladay is like a low-end wide receiver 3, but he has upside, so if you're between Golladay and some boring guy like a Jamison Crowder even, I would play Golladay in that situation. A concern I have, although you're probably starting him, is Michael Pittman at the Buffalo Bills. Not a good matchup. I had my Carson Wentz concerns, of course, but it kind of correlates how I feel about Pittman. So Pittman's target share for the Colts offense the past 2 games has been only 17.5%. It was 15%, then 20% last week. So he had a 15 target game in week 8, and that was great, but his target share has been kind of decreasing lately. Maybe it's just like, I don't know, coincidence, but he's not getting like a ton of targets that we once saw for Pittman earlier in the season. Whether it's Tre'Davious White or Levi Wallace, their cornerbacks in Buffalo have been phenomenal this year. They're allowing the fewest points to fantasy wide receivers in 2021 so far. Now, you're most likely playing Pittman. I can't see anybody having a team that great where you're benching him. If you're in like a 6 or 8 team league, maybe I could bench Pittman in that situation, but he is tough to bench. I get that. I just would not expect like the monster 25, 30-point week out of Pittman, so kind of temper your expectations there. A start I have is Rashod Bateman at the Chicago Bears, and Bateman, since coming back from injury, is getting more involved with this Ravens offense. Now, I saw Lamar Jackson miss practice with an illness on Wednesday and Thursday, so if Lamar's out, then don't play him, of course, but if Lamar plays, I definitely would play Bateman. The Bears defense is allowing the 4th most points per game to fantasy wide receivers in 2021. I just saw Khalil Mack is out for the year now, and you'd think that their cornerback 1, who's Jalen Johnson, should be on Marquise Brown most of the game. This could be the Bateman breakout game where he scores a touchdown and has 80+ yards. I'm playing him in a league, and I definitely trust Rashod Bateman this week. A sit I have is Elijah Moore. I kind of foreshadowed that one before when talking about Jamison Crowder, but Elijah Moore goes against a Miami secondary that is going to be really good on the outside, as we know. He had 4 good fantasy weeks in a row here, 10+ points in PPR, but there's some flukiness to it. So one of them was a punt return game. I think like on his receiving totals that game was probably like, I don't know, 3 catches for 20 yards, but he also had a punt return touchdown, so you can't bank on that every week. And then the one touchdown he scored last week, it was like in garbage time, down 45-10. So I know they all count and whatnot, but I don't know, Elijah Moore kind of concerns me. He might have one of those weeks where he throws up a 4 or 5 point day, and we're just like, damn, why did I start him? So I don't want that to happen to you guys. And remember, Corey Davis is back as well, and the Jets love to play Braxton Berrios and all these guys. There's a lot of like competition for targets there, so I have that concern as well. Maybe he'll find a way to make it 5 straight good games. I do like Elijah Moore a lot as a player, but it's a tough matchup, and I probably would not play him this week. Now on to the running back position. Number 1 is start Devonta Foreman versus the Houston Texans here. So Foreman played the most snaps for the Titans last week, which is a surprise. We did not really see that one coming, but he also had 30 rushing yards last week against the great Saints run defense that I mentioned before. He also had like 40-something receiving yards. The Titans are favored by 10 points and have an implied point total of 27 in this game, so this is a great game script if you're a Titans running back. Now, of course, this could be Adrian Peterson vulturing all the touchdowns and making this like not a great day for Foreman, but if Foreman actually gets some goal line work, it could be a very big day for him. This, of course, is a great game script, and it's a great revenge game spot considering Foreman was once a 3rd-round pick by the Texans back in like 2017, I think. So Foreman should see about 12 to 15 touches, I would think, and he might get some on the goal line, so his ceiling this week actually might be pretty high against a terrible Texans run defense. And Jeremy McNichols, who is their pass-catching back, I'm assuming probably won't play that much because, as I said, the Titans should be ahead in this game, and when you're ahead, you don't need your passing down running back as much. So this could be like more of a 2-way split between Adrian Peterson and Devonta Foreman, and if you have eyes, you can see that Devonta Foreman's a better player right now. A sit I have is Clyde EdwardsHelaire against the Dallas Cowboys. We'll find out what Clyde's injury status is on Saturday. I think that will come out, but he has a chance to play this week. Dallas barely allows over 100 rushing yards per game, so their defense against the run has been good, and Darrell Williams has been fine as a starter so far, so I don't see Clyde EdwardsHelaire coming back and getting 70% of the work. I think Clyde EdwardsHelaire might have to kind of earn his way back here, not saying he won't play, but I think Darrell Williams right now is the starter, and if he plays this week, I just don't think he's like a smash star. I don't care if you took him in the 2nd round. I would hold off and kind of wait and see how this game goes first. Next one for a sit. This one's interesting. I have Bills and Eagles running backs. This is kind of scary because it's like 4 or 5 guys, and I could definitely be wrong if one of them pops off like a big touchdown run or something, but I'm willing to say this. For the Bills, we saw Matt Breida work his way onto the field last week. He played in the first half for them, so you don't want to see that. You know, having the Singletary and Moss split already sucked as it is, but now having Matt Breida in there is even worse. Now, the Bills Bills are playing the Colts this week, and the Colts' run defense is the third worst matchup for fantasy running backs so far in 2021. And as for the Eagles, they face the best run defense in football. There's a chance Miles Sanders comes back this week. I would not play him either. I know Jordan Howard's been okay lately. I know that Boston Scott had a pretty nice week in 2 of the past 3 games, but I just don't see myself playing any of these guys. I mean, there's a chance they find the end zone and save their day, but just yards per carry wise, it probably won't be a pretty day, so I would try to avoid these running backs on the Bills and the Eagles. Next, I have a guy who's more of like a sneaky start, more of like a, I don't know, not like a smash play, of course, because Nick Chubb is now back, but D'Ernest Johnson versus the Detroit Lions. Now, Johnson in games where Chubb is in without Kareem Hunt, so he's still like the backup running back, is still getting some work. He had 12 carries in 2 games when Nick Chubb is the lead back and Kareem Hunt's out, so there is a good chance that in the fourth quarter, the Browns are up by, 25, 30 points or something, and D'Ernest Johnson might have the entire fourth quarter to himself. We may see him break off like a big 50-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter and kind of have a big day. So D'Ernest Johnson is more of a running back 3, but he has a lot of upside based on the matchup. Nick Chubb is coming off COVID. I love this matchup for Nick Chubb, by the way, but he is coming off COVID, and the coaching staff may realize that, and D'Ernest Johnson may see more carries than he usually would in a week where Nick Chubb is healthy. And the Lions defense does allow the 3rd most rushing yards per game on defense, so not good. It's a great matchup for Cleveland, and if you have to play like a desperation running back, I think D'Ernest Johnson's not a bad pick. On to the tight end position. Number 1 is start Cole Kmet versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Cole Kmet's been quietly involved here with the Bears offense the past few games since week 3, so this is like a pretty large sample size here, almost 2 months. Cole Kmet has at least a 17% target share in the Bears offense. He's definitely overtaken Jimmy Graham, and he had a 27% target share in their last game at Pittsburgh on that Monday Night Football game. This week, the Bears face a Ravens defense allowing the 8th most fantasy points per game to the tight end position, so it is a good matchup. And remember, Allen Robinson is listed as doubtful this week, so that's another less mouth to feed there for the Bears passing attack. So Cole Kmet, I know it's not like the best name in the world, but I think Cole Kmet's a decent start, has a pretty safe floor, and has a chance to find the end zone, of course. Next, I have another sneaky start here, but it's Adam Troutman against the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles defense allows the 2nd most points per game to tight ends in 2021, and Adam Troutman's actually playing a lot recently. Like last week, he played a lot more snaps than Jawan Johnson. He blew him out of the water. So he's the number 1 tight end on this roster right now, and Adam Troutman, the past few games, has had 6 targets, 7 targets, and 6 targets. So he's been getting the targets lately. He plays a very bad defense against tight ends. I think Adam Troutman could be a pretty low-key start to no one seeing coming this week, but I think he might have a nice game. Now, it was hard to find a tight end that I wanted to sit this week, but one name I could throw out there is Rob Gronkowski. Right now, it looks like he's trending towards playing on Monday night against the Giants. And as a Giants fan, I'm used to my defense giving up a ton of points to fantasy tight ends, but the Giants defense actually is allowing 6.8 points per game to the tight end position, so they have not really been killed that much so far. They held Travis Kelce to a very bad game a couple Mondays ago, so the Giants defense isn't as bad as against tight ends as I originally thought. Now, as for Gronk, he has not played like a full game since week 2. He came into that game in week 8 against the Saints, had 1 target, then left the game with back spasms. He has not finished a game since week number 2, so it's tough for me to trust the guy. I know him and Tom Brady have the chemistry, but it's tough for me to just all of a sudden trust Rob Gronkowski in his first game back. Yes, Gronk may play and score a touchdown or 2, and then I'm wrong, but I just don't think it's the best matchup, and I just want to see him play a full game first before I put him back into my lineup. So I'll throw in a couple defenses I like here. Of course, the Patriots scored 28 in at least my scoring yesterday, so yeah, the Patriots defense, if you had them, congrats. If you played against them, I feel bad. I did not, thank God. So anyway, one start I have, of course, is the Cleveland Browns. I mentioned them on the waivers show on Monday or Tuesday, or I guess Monday when I put it out. So yeah, definitely Cleveland Browns defense against Tim Boyle potentially, because Jared Goff may not play. Now, is Tim Boyle better than Jared Goff? Maybe. I don't know. But it's still a great matchup for the Browns defense. They'll get pressure in that game and hopefully force them into some turnovers, and the Lions should be playing from behind. There's a lot of sack opportunities, interception opportunities, touchdown opportunities, so I love the Browns defense, even coming off that really bad week at New England in week 10. And another one here is a defense that's 34% on the Los Angeles Chargers. Now, Ben Roethlisberger may not play in this game with COVID, so it might again be Mason Rudolph. We saw how bad he looked against the Lions last week, so I think the Chargers, even without Joey Bosa and Jerry Tillery, which sucks, I still think the Chargers are a good defense here to stream because their secondary is great. Now, one concern I have is that the Chargers don't stop the run very well, so if Najee Harris has a great game, then that will kind of mitigate what they can do on fantasy points wise. But still, I could see, because the Steelers' offensive line, run blocking wise, is not that great. So it's not like Najee Harris will rip off 6 yards a carry. I don't see that happening. So as long as Mason Rudolph has some passing opportunities, and I do think the Chargers win this game by a lot. So Mason Rudolph in the fourth quarter especially will be in more passing situations, and the Chargers defense will have the ability to make some plays and maybe have a pick six. I don't know. So I like the Chargers as well. So that will do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Once again, leave in the comments if you have any questions about your fantasy teams, and I will talk to you guys next time. So before I uploaded, a few things happen here. So Elijah Mitchell is doubtful for Sunday against Jacksonville. Jeff Wilson Jr. all of a sudden becomes a really good start. Definitely an RB2. At least I would play Jeff Wilson this week. We also saw that TJ Watt is out for this Sunday, so I feel better about Justin Herbert, of course, and some of the, just the rest of the Chargers offense in general. And we also saw that Amari Cooper was surprisingly put on the COVID list. He's out for Sunday against the Chiefs. This is a big bump for guys like Michael Gallup and even Dalton Schultz. I think Schultz is more of like a mid tight end 1 now. And then you have Michael Gallup, who's probably like, honestly, a wide receiver 3, somewhere in that territory. So I think you could play him now. I don't know if I'd play Cedric Wilson and go that crazy, but he becomes like a sneaky start now. So a lot of news here, but yeah, Jeff Wilson Jr. for sure play. I still like Herbert, and it's a bump for Schultz and guys like Gallup, and I guess even CeeDee Lamb a little bit. So anyway, that will do it for this video, and I will talk to you guys next time.